Brazil's former president Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva is holed up in a association house in his hometown, external São Paulo, following lacking a last date to brush oneself above to the authorities. The 72-year-old had been orderly to brush oneself in to begin a 12-year jail period for corrupt practices. His lawyers are told to be negotiations his letting in police force. Several accountable propose he may letting on Sunday, other how he will conduct out via the weekend. Thousands of applauding supporters collected external the house in São Bernardo do Campo wherever Lula is stay. I believe how if the Fed police force go there now to detention Lula, they win t include chamber to get to, Lula advocate João Xavier said Reuters. Authorities include tense how the leftward wing shill is not creature examined as a runaway, as all knows wherever he is. Brazilian Sen Glaze Hoffman tweeted how a Roman Catholic massive would be told at the Metal Workers Association house previous on Sunday, in ram of Lula's deceased woman Marisol Leticia who dead recent year. Lula says his belief is politically reasoned. He claims it was intended to halt him of fleeing for CEO in October's survey, that he had been favorite to gain protocol up the last date. His lawyers lose a bid to hold him out of prison time he appeals versus his belief. In his procedure on Thursday, Fed magistrate Sergio Moro told Lula had to this oneself up 17 o'clock regional period, 20 o'clock GMT, on Friday at the Fed police force staff in the southern town of Curitiba. He's an random judgment, he's an illicit judgment, it goes versus the basic law, it goes versus his main humane rights, it goes versus his virtue, and we are departure to struggle all the way before, of year, we include accessible recourses and legislative appeals so how he will not go to prison, she told. Lula has been condemned to 12 years in prison, but the appeals trial could get several more than months or the year. These history 24 several hours include fascinated Brazil. Helicopter include been turning the Metal Workers Association house wherever Lula is in his supporters, radio each go for TV audience through the nation. As Friday went on the crowds got greater. The last date came and went, and the thousands of Lula fans wait external transferred on independently, singing their supporting for a man Lotse was the top CEO Brazil always also. Which happens now although is not clear, though for a nation utilized to complex policy sagas, the is unexplored area. On Sunday night, Lula plans to conduct a massive in the association house in ram of his deceased woman. Several trust he could offer oneself up following how, other believe it might occur on Monday. But which has human beings concerned is how detention will occur. Will he go gladly, or could he, and his supporters, put up a struggle? Down there is anxiety how Lula's death could yet rotate forcible. Lula served as CEO of 2003 to 2011. In spite of conduct in view polls front of October's poll, he remnant a separating drawing. A ex-medalist and trading association militant, he was the at first leftward wing lead to do it to the Brazilian chairmanship in almost part a age. Time he was in office space, Brazil skilled its longest time of economical increase in many decades, enabling his authority to expend generously on public programs. Tens of millions of human beings were raised out of poverty reduction thanks to the initiatives undertaken by the government, and he leftward office space following to serial regulation, this maximal permitted in Brazil, in recording popular ratings. The extortion versus Lula came of an against corruption inquiry named as Transactions Car Clean, that has involved top political community of several parties. He was condemned of reception a renewed beach flat cost several reais, £790,000, as a bribery of mechanical engineering company OAS. The defense says Lula's property of the flat has never been tested and how his belief rests substantially on the speech of the ex-president of OAS, oneself condemned of corrupt practices. Though he has been said to rotate oneself in, it is not specific how he will go to prison for 12 years. He has not depleted his appeals still. Down there are two high courts that he can yet rotate to, the excellent trial and the high trial. The last has just controlled so far on if he should go to prison. Anticipated future appeals, quite rather than on the main instance. No one of such courts would de-examine if Lula was those guilty of corrupt practices. They would see in if legislative procedures were accompanied properly and if his constitution rights were breached. They could get months or the year. If each trial were to guideline in Lula's favor, his belief could be revoked and he would be liberated.